Welcome back to another edition of GROSSBUSTERS Reviews. This week I went and saw the long-awaited, highly anticipated, critically acclaimed Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 in IMAX 3D. I cannot even begin to tell you how excited I was to finally see this movie. But that doesn't mean I won't try to tell you. It all started when the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie came out. Because let's be honest, the first time we heard there was a Guardians of the Galaxy movie coming out, I guarantee 95% of us were like, who? But honestly, I was sold on this once I saw the very first trailer for the first Guardians movie. I loved the first one so much that for our daughter's first Halloween, we decided to do Guardians of the Galaxy family costumes. Eat your heart out, baby Groot. And I completely felt Star-Lord's pain, because even at that point after the movie had come out, I was super excited to be Star-Lord for Halloween, and not even kidding, people everywhere were like, who? My daughter Lexi even had a dancing baby Groot at this time, and she had to dance with it every single night before going to bed, and it was the cutest thing ever. Fast forward to 2 years ago, and Chris Pratt came to our hometown to run in the Ironman Florida race. Well, me and my buddy Addison were determined that we were going to meet Chris Pratt when he came to town. And sure enough, we saw him registering the day before the race. And the crazy thing is that hardly anybody knew who he was. This was about 2 weeks before the release of Jurassic World, which I think is safe to say was what catapulted him to household name status. But there was nobody hounding him, nobody approaching him, nobody bothering him. But then we came along. Just 2 weeks later when Jurassic World came out, and this autograph became a pretty big deal to people besides myself. And for the record, Mr. Pratt was the nicest, most humble, down-to-earth guy I have ever met. He was super approachable and actually talked to us for quite a while. And I just have to say, it's a very surreal moment meeting somebody that you dressed up as for Halloween in your 30s. But I digress. Chris Pratt has been hyping the release of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 on his social media for quite a while now, making some pretty outrageous claims as to just how good this movie is. For example, on his Facebook he says, "On May 5th, the greatest movie in the history of movies is coming. There has never been and will never again be a movie like this. Seriously. Ever heard of Citizen Kane? We're much better. Seriously, our movie just tested at over 1 million points. Rotten Tomatoes already has it at 234% fresh. Hashtag GotGVol2 will win every movie award and about 39 Olympic gold medals in swimming, gymnastics, the skiing event with the gun, X Games, snowmobiling, and everything. It will win the World Cup and about 7 Super Bowl rings. Sorry, Tom Brady. This movie will fry your brains and lift your spirits. James Gunn will be elected President of the world. They will add the faces of the Guardians to Mount Rushmore for sure. We're going to get a planet. May 5th will become a national holiday. Everyone will get pregnant. Candy will fall from the sky. Global warming will stop. Dinosaurs will come back to life." Which, unlike some movies might tell you, is actually a really good thing because they won't flip out and kill people. Instead, they'll be your awesome pets. So basically, get your tickets as soon as you can. Don't be the only person on the planet who doesn't see this movie. Humbly, Star-Lord. When we met Chris Pratt in 2015, he told us he had just finished reading the first draft for Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and told us in person, when we met him, that this movie was going to be effing awesome. To which he, me, we, all three got goosebumps. That's right, I shared goosebumps with Chris Pratt. And from that moment on, I have believed every ridiculous claim that Chris has said regarding just how good this movie was going to be. So I finally saw the movie for myself and realized Chris Pratt wasn't lying. Everything he said was absolutely true. And if that's the case, then I'd better remember to take a pregnancy test when I get home. This movie lived up to every expectation I could have ever dreamed of. James Gunn is an absolute genius, and I like to keep things as spoiler free as possible, so I can't really comment on any of the plot points, but what I will say is that Drax stole the show in this one. All my friends agreed on that after seeing the movie, so great job, Dave Bautista. I think Yondu was a close second for me, and I love the new addition of Mantis. She was great, and of course, Baby Groot was just as cute and hilarious as ever. As far as the soundtrack goes, because we all know that was such a big part of the first movie, I rushed out and bought Awesome Mix Volume 2 just as soon as it was available last week, and I listened to it before seeing the movie, and I'm not going to lie, it definitely doesn't seem to live up to the level of awesomeness as Awesome Mix Volume 1 did, but when I saw the movie, every single song works perfectly within the context of the movie. Once again, James Gunn did a brilliant job there, and he included Brandy by Looking Glass, which is seriously one of my favorite songs of all time. I had actually included that one on my own wish list of songs for what I had hoped would be in Awesome Mix Volume 2, so nailed it. And lastly, on my review portion, I just have to tell you there are a ton of cameos in this movie. Some you'll catch, some you will completely miss. The two you might miss that I'll give you a heads up on is Michael Rosenbaum, who played Lex Luthor in Smallville. You might miss that one because his character is mostly CGI. And the other big one that I think most people won't even catch, and I didn't even know till I looked it up afterwards, is that the voice of Miley Cyrus is used in the movie. Aside from those two, I don't want to give any more away because honestly that's part of the fun of watching this movie. Who's going to pop up? And now it's time for the Parental Advisory Review. So this is clearly a movie that kids will want to see. However, a lot of the content is meant for a more mature audience. So it is completely up to you as a parent to use your own judgment on this one. So here's the list of bad language. There were 9 D words, 7 ASS words, 7 HE double hockey sticks, 4 S words, and 1 B word. And there are 3 instances where they say son of a, but they cut it off there. Also the term a-holes, said just like that, is used as well. As far as other lesser language and terminology goes, there were some name-calling instances where they used the terms douchebag a couple of times, scrotum head comes up, and the D word for male anatomy that rhymes with Rick. Other terms used are take a whiz, pissing me off, someone references being drunk, words like sucks and screw are used once, I think, and also the word frickin', but it's followed by them saying they don't mean it as frickin'. So be mindful of that as well. There are a handful of adult conversations in this movie, including a conversation about what's between your legs. Then there's another full-on conversation about how certain guys measure up between their legs. One character says their nether regions become engorged. Sex is referenced a couple of times, and they pretty much explain where babies come from in this movie. Then there was a funny joke about Drax's nipples, and another joke about Rocket's turds that was actually really funny. Aside from the language and the adult conversations, some of the imagery I would warn parents about is that there is one location that is like a space brothel with scantily clad women and neon lights in the shape of women. There's also a separate image that shows one character in particular being with multiple women. Another thing I have to watch out for with my daughter is that she's easily scared. So as far as that goes, there is the big tentacle monster that we've seen in almost all of the previews. That's right at the beginning, so that's over with pretty quickly, and that doesn't really count as a spoiler since we've seen so much of it already. Some stuff in the movie gets a little graphic though. For example, there's a severed toe at one point, and there is slow motion and high definition of Yondu's arrow going through several people's bodies. That got a little graphic, maybe for kids. I mean, it's not too bad, but I'm warning you. There's also some highly detailed deaths in space where the bodies freeze over, very similar to what we saw with Star-Lord in the first movie. It's very close up, it's very graphic as far as the icing over process and all that. So, I don't know, that may be a little intense for some kids. I'm just warning you that's in there. Thanks for watching my review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. As always, please like, subscribe, share, comment, whatever you want to do with the video, please do it. I appreciate your input. Parents, I do this for you. If you have friends that are parents that are questionable as to whether to take their kids to go see this movie or not, please share this video with them so they know exactly what to expect before walking into the movie. That's what I do this for, is so that parents aren't caught off guard while sitting in the theater. I highly recommend seeing it if you're of age and able to make your own decision on that. It was definitely worth the wait and all the hype. I smiled the entire movie, even through the parts where I was crying. I plan to see it again myself in theaters. And before I go, if you haven't heard yet, there are 5 after credit scenes on this one, so stick around after the credits roll. Some are important, some are just for fun. And remember, we are Groot. See ya!